My name's Anthea, welcome to Wheelie Good Tips. Today we're going to talk about horse riding and para-equestrian. I had an accident 13 years ago, leading my horse up a hill, and we slipped and fell down a bank. I ended up complete para T10-11, so pretty much no feeling from my waist down. And when I got to hospital, the one thing I wasn't prepared to give up was riding, so we had to figure out a way how. A friend of a friend got me into riding for the disabled, and we went from there. I was riding 9 weeks into my rehab while still in the spinal unit. We had to sneak that one past the doctors to start with, but probably the one thing for my mental well-being that made the biggest difference, I hadn't felt down at all, but that was the one thing that really got me excited and wanting to get out of bed in the morning. Since then, I have started competing again 2 years after my accident. I bought a new horse that was more suitable. Had to be really careful finding the right one that's got a good temperament, it's not scared of my chair, it's going to cope with all of the different ways of having to do things. Finding the horse is difficult. I guess it is a little bit of a gut feel. I'd ridden for 20 odd years before my accident, so I had a bit of a feeling for what I needed and knew that the one I had would be okay, but not to start competing on. The first impression is really important, so the horse, if it starts spooking at my chair or when I'm moving around, it's probably not a good start. Usually they've just got to have good personal space, good manners on the ground, because I do a lot of that handling myself, and in fact I do as much as I can myself. And they've just got to have the right brain, I think, and obviously not too wide, not too big. There's all sorts of other things that come into it, but it's the brain that's most important. They've got to know when to react and what to react to, and they've got to trust you, and you've got to trust them, because at the end of the day you're sitting on 500 odd kilos of live animal, so it's a relationship that you've got to try and build. Getting on is quite difficult. If you don't have a ramp at home, you normally need a couple of people. My husband and I have managed to figure it out, so we get the horse to stand next to a mounting block, and then he can pick me up and sit me in the saddle, and the horse just stands and waits. Stirrups have rubber bands to go to hold them in, and once that's all ready to go, then the horse knows, okay, it's really good to go now. And the horses pick it up really quickly. The newest one I've got, he literally the second or third time I got on, he figured out he had to stand and wait, which was really good. Getting off, you can either try it yourself, but it's not recommended, or I normally just, again, stand the horse next to my chair, and Aaron will unstrap all my straps and throw my leg over, and he'll help me down into my chair. The saddle I've got ended up being custom made. I started with a standard saddle, and it had big knee blocks to sort of jam you in, which was great for a while. Then my horse got quite wide, and my hips couldn't cope with the angle that the saddle put me in, so I ended up having to buy a custom made saddle, which is slightly more forward cut for dressage than usual, and it's got slots in it so that my leg straps can come through and hold my leg nice and firm on the saddle. It's also got a handlebar on the front, and most importantly it's got a nice big thick honeycomb gel seat, which takes good care of my bum, which is obviously most important, and it also helps you sink into the saddle and helps with your balance, because it sort of holds you in place. I had lots of other people sit in it and they just can't believe how comfortable it is, so it's certainly an investment, but it was definitely worth doing. With para-equestrian, there's different aids that you're allowed to use depending on your disability, so that it sort of levels the playing field really. So I'm allowed to use 2 whips, and so I use 2 long dressage whips as my legs. I'm allowed to use my voice, and so the horses are all trained to go off the voice, different commands for different paces. But the horses pick it up really quickly. It's just the same as anything, being consistent with your aids every single time, and then they know what to expect. So para-equestrian is quite a small discipline in New Zealand, but it is one of Equestrian Sport New Zealand's official disciplines. We have a small group of riders in the South Island, there's a few more in the North Island, and we try and have competitions. We're lucky that Dressage New Zealand work with us and run our tests at their competitions, so we can just go out to an able-bodied competition and compete amongst everyone else, and some riders choose to ride in both. We have a couple of big shows every year, a National Champs, Horse of the Year show, and then you can look to go international as well. The World Equestrian Games is all of the FEI disciplines, including para-equestrian, reining, vaulting, carriage driving, jumping, eventing and dressage. And then of course the Paralympic Games is the pinnacle for the sport, which is only para-dressage at the moment. And also overseas a lot more para-reining is starting to get going in the States especially, which is pretty cool. People doing spins and big skids, and I haven't really given it a crack, but it might be fun to try. It always struck me when I first competed, people didn't know that I had a disability. If you didn't look closely and notice that I had 2 whips and that I was using my voice, and I had a few straps here and there, you wouldn't know, it's a really liberating feeling being up there and having the freedom to go anywhere. And it's different, it's definitely different, and you've got to get your head around that. And I think some people either like it that it's different and go with that, or they don't, and either choice is fine. But for me, I used to hate dressage and I love it now. And the challenge and the satisfaction of training your own horse with your own aids, especially with a disability, that's really the pinnacle for me. Medals and that are all great, but my biggest satisfaction is taking horses that I've trained myself to the biggest competitions in the world. So to go to somewhere like London for the Paralympic Games was quite phenomenal, and I wasn't going to win a medal, but to get there and see the standard and see what you need to do and how the other athletes in all different sports prepare, and yeah, it was huge. After that I had the opportunity to train in Germany for the World Games on a horse that was like a Ferrari. The horse I had for London was like a Corolla, and Don in Germany was a Ferrari for sure. And so to go there to learn how to ride him and to train in an environment with Olympic level dressage riders and to compete in Europe against the best para riders in the world was just unbelievable. And I remember Hayley, who I trained with, she said to me, I don't know if I could do that if what happened to you happened to me. And I was like, well, of course you would, I wouldn't be here. And having this incredible experience if it wasn't for my accident, I had all the dreams in the world of riding at badminton and the Olympics, but I would never have realistically got to that point had I not had my accident. And it wasn't easy, it was really, really bloody hard, to be honest, and it costed a lot of money, which makes it even more special, I think, that I had that opportunity, and now I know what I need to do to be really good at that level, and when I'm ready I'll hopefully get back there. Thanks very much for watching Really Good Tips. I hope you've enjoyed it and learned something new, and find if you want to try riding horses that anything's possible, you've just got to set your mind to it.